Blog Talk Radio.
Writing your book is the easy part. Promoting your book so readers can find and purchase it is the hard part. Welcome to the Author Chat Show, hosted by author-publisher Lynda D. Brown. Follow us at www.facebook.com/authorchat. And to contact the show to promote your book, contact me at theauthorchatshow@gmail.com. Stay tuned and listen to today's show.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Sunday edition of the Author Chat Show. I'm your host, Lynda D. Brown. My guest today is author Art Greenhaw. Art is the author of a new comic book, God's Silver Soldiers. This is Art's first appearance on the Author Chat Show, and we'll be right back to chat with him about his book after a word from today's sponsor.
PrimeStar Publicity and Public Relations is a full-service firm ready to fill the needs of their clients. Owner Helen Cook has more than 32 years of publicity, public relations, advertising, and marketing experience, and she focuses her professional talents on working with her clients' strengths to create customized, strategic campaigns, whether their needs are great or small. Radio, TV, print, internet, publicity, marketing, creating a social media presence, branding, client positioning, author tours, speaking events. These are just some of the services PrimeStar provides for their clients. For a complete list of services and other information about the company, please visit our website, www.primestarpublicity.com, or email Helen at helen.cook@primestarpublicity.com, or phone 903-654-0938. PrimeStar's home office is located in the Houston, Texas area.
All right. Welcome back to the show. For those of you just tuning in, today's guest is author Art Greenhaw. Art is stopping by the show to discuss his new comic book, God's Silver Soldiers. This is Art's first appearance on the Author Chat Show. So, Art, welcome to the show.
Sure is a pleasure to be with you, Lynda. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Art, since this is your first time on, why don't we get started with you telling us a little bit about yourself?
Comic books have always been my favorite literary medium, and I've been in music for a number of years. I happen to lead the longest-running band in the world that we know of, the Light Crust Doughboys from Texas. Bob Wills' original band. And my favorite music has always been gospel Christian music, even though the Light Crust Doughboys are a Western band. And I've been blessed to have had 8 Grammy nominations and a Grammy win. It's a record for a group in our particular category of music. So I thought I might have a little background and clout now to parlay those Grammy nominations and Grammy wins into comic book production that would get attention all around. So I've taken all of those experiences and woven them together, and we have a new comic books group called Truthmonger Comics Group. We're trying to do some unusual things that really haven't been done in successful ways before, such as Christian Superheroes. We have several titles, but our launch are Christian faith-based superheroes, God's Silver Soldiers.
God's Silver Soldiers. I love that name. How did you guys come up with the name, Art?
Actually, I'd written a song that was on a Grammy-nominated record of mine starring Anne Margaret, believe it or not, the iconic actress. And she had done the majority of the songs on this album. She was the primary artist, but we snuck in what I thought was a real gem song called God's Silver Soldiers. Our publicist may have sent you the MP3 clip on that song. That was actually the basis of the title, Fight On, God's Silver Soldiers. I just thought we could really make a Christian comic book series around that title and around that song, and we did it.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So that's actually Anne Margaret's voice on the MP3 that I listened to earlier?
No, it's not. It's me and the Jordanaires. It's actually me singing lead.
Okay.
And the famous Jordanaires, Elvis's, in my opinion, most famous recording backup vocal group, doing all the backgrounds, Fight On, Ah, Oohs. It's a classic, almost a doo-wop, roots gospel, classic rock and roll song. I hope you enjoyed it.
Absolutely. We will definitely be uploading it to our Author Chat Facebook page to accompany this interview, so that way fans can also listen to it. So thank you so much for submitting that to your publicist. She was very kind and forward and right to me, and it sounds great. So let's talk about the book. First of all, so how long have you been in the comic book industry? And apparently there's someone very well known that you've worked alongside for a long time. Tell us about that, Art.
I think maybe like you, I just grew up loving comic books. I was very influenced by comic books. They even helped my moral and spiritual development. I love the writing of Stan Lee. I love the Silver Surfer. I love the Marvel comics that promoted the history of the saints, St. Francis. I just remember all of the past years where comic books really had some moral and spiritual values if you hunted far enough. And when I first began this Grammy nomination run in the 1990s, I thought I had enough clout and appeal to reach out to one of my real literary heroes, Stan Lee. Stan was still with Marvel at the time. He's difficult to reach, as you can imagine, anyone in that success level. And he just immediately liked this idea, got immediately back to me, and we've been talking for 20 years about the possibility of doing something major in the line of faith-based comic books. Our friend Stan has gotten so sidetracked with the enormous success of the Marvel films. When I started visiting with him, this was right before X-Men 1 hit. And those films have just become so important. And he's had cameo appearances in virtually every Marvel film. We were never able at this point in time to really completely collaborate together, although he's been very supportive. So I just launched out on my own, formed my own company, and took what I've learned from Stan and Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby and even some fantastic DC artists. I've been greatly influenced by my own artist in this series, Ben Dunn, who is quite a comic book artist king in his own right. And then I don't know if you remember a series of Christian comic books that were real well done in the 1970s and 80s by Marvel and Atlas comic great Al Hartley, who put out a series of fantastic Bible theme and other comic books. And so I've tried to put my own spin on these books along with the teachings and what I've learned from all of my mentors and heroes. And we've got God's Silver Soldiers. We have a series called Tales of Nazareth, the Boyhood of Jesus. And we've just rolled out the boyhood stories of Jesus of Nazareth. So that's in our very latest book. Okay. We're doing police tribute comics. We just are a full-fledged company putting out a variety of titles, but so as not to get people too confused and bogged down, we can zero in on this first title like you're doing, God's Silver Soldiers. We just don't want to have your friends have too many titles to think about right offhand.
Absolutely, and thank you, because that leads me right into my next question. So going back to God's Silver Soldiers, this is book issue number 1. Tell us about the soldiers. How many are there in the book?
We actually have 6 ordinary men and ordinary women who have been chosen by God to be blessed with these various superpowers. We have an all-encompassing organizing figure that we named Angelica, and she actually is the so-called organizer of the Doughboys. She has a lot of biblical Mary characteristics. Of course, not too many people can have too many biblical Mary characteristics because Mary is such a seminal key figure in the Christian religious tradition, but we've tried to have this Angelica figure to be a very organizing hero type, and then the Silver Soldiers come from various points of life: doctor, chef, school teacher. They all have their own problems like we all do, but God sees in those people potential, so He gives them blessings to overcome their personal problems, and He gives them superpowers, and they unite together to fight the forces of evil, and they're even fighting the number 1 force of evil, which is the Prince of Darkness, Satan himself, in our books.
Okay.
So it's pretty heavy, pretty intertwined with action, adventure, passion, pathos. It's something for comic book fans that are not faint of heart, although it's family friendly.
Exactly. Now, Art is going to read an excerpt from the comic book, but before we get started, again, I'd like to just get a rundown of the heroes and what their superpowers are. So we have Angelica, who's the organizer. What is her superpower?
She has the ability to organize, and she has great insight from God.
Okay, so... All right, so organization there for her. And so who's the second super soldier, Silver Soldier?
Well, let's flip to the book. There's so many little twists. Let me make sure that I don't forget anyone. Angelica being the organizer, and the heavenly forces say, Angelica, I have heard the cries from earth. Evil and wickedness are everywhere, and Satan's darkness is corrupting the hearts and minds of my children. Who will be my hands and my feet for justice? Whom shall I send? And Angelica says, Here am I, Lord, send me. And then God says, To those whom I have chosen will I give the blessing of my might, the whole armor of God. This is taken directly from the Bible. Those chosen will be called my silver soldiers, and will forever know that I selected them and anointed them my special agents. For they fight not against flesh and blood only, but against the superhuman forces of evil in the world. And we have a Native American character named Samson who's a musician.
Okay.
God says, Rise out of the gutter, no more sing the words of the wicked. Put on your feet the power-line boots of peace. They have been made to give you the power of earth's animals. Samson, you will be silver soldier black, which means he's clothed in a black uniform and has the power of the animals. Since we have 6 characters, to shorten things a little bit, we'll see if you want me to continue. Let me give you just one more so we don't just get bogged down. We have to give people a little bit of incentive to get the book, but your call. But let me give you one more. We have a physician named John, and he has some struggles. He happens to have some prescription drug problems in order to keep him awake and do all of his surgeries. He's become dependent upon prescription drugs. And in the book, the little devil voices are always telling him, you can call that drug dealer you've used before. And he's got a hot temper and a hot personality, and he's real hard on his nurses and is basically just a personal jerk to deal with, even though he has the talents of healing. And he is reached on a Damascus Road type experience by the voice of God saying, Oh, John, when will you see the light? You were born a healer, but you've become a destroyer. Here again, God saying, I, meaning God, I am the great physician, and you were created in my image. Rise up and take the helmet of salvation and the powers over all the plants of the earth. Heal, for this be your destiny. Henceforth you shall be called God's silver soldier green. So he has a green costume and has the powers over Earth's plants.
Oh, okay.
So that's just a little 2 out of 6. Actually, we talked about Angelica, so 3 out of 7. And that gives you a little overview of where we're going with God's silver soldiers.
Right, right. It sounds fantastic. Now, how is it being received amongst the, I'm assuming that your target audience would be preteens up to adults. How is that working out for you?
We're still in the process of getting it in front of a lot more people. That's why we're so grateful for your show and everyone that believes in the power of faith-based, positive, uplifting comic books, I really need your help, because this is sort of like rock and roll was in the 1950s. This is uncharted territory. Here's what our challenges are. We're throwing ourselves into a comic book culture, and basically there's probably no other culture. We love a lot of the comic book fans, but they are in mass a real secular, progressive, sometimes the mere mention of religion or morals or spiritual things just is a real turnoff. So we've got that audience that until they get into the book, if they think this is going to just be little simple cartoon figures that don't have the power and the passion of comic books, then they're really wrong. But our challenge is to pierce that market, which is a real tough market.
Sure.
Then we have the religious market that's really never seen anything like this before. A lot of the religious market don't quite know what to make of Christian superheroes.
Right.
So
it's sad. Can I say, Art, because I have a Christian fiction series out there, and when I took the first book into my local bookstore, because Christian bookstore that I've been taking going in and out of for years, because the cover is not conventional. Are you sure this is a Christian book? What do we do to get them to start thinking outside of the box? Because they're just losing a whole generation of people with their mindset that, you have to do it this way or no way. Your thoughts?
That's why you and I really need some help, and we've run into that for 20 years. People will look maybe at our physiques and say, a little too exaggerated, a little too powerful, the muscles are too big. Those lips on that beautiful lady, that's a little too exaggerated. Those lips are a little too sensuous. I mean, we're having every type of a reaction, and that's just one of those things. We just have to educate, and this is not for everyone. We wish it were for everyone, but we're cutting a path. I know when I wrote music for Engelbert Humperdinck, I decided to write Christian romance songs, songs that involved love that could be used at weddings and things like that, and that hadn't been done just a whole lot. So I think that's one reason we're missing the boat, don't you think? Doesn't mean we have to compromise moral and spiritual standards, but it's like a lot of people in rock and roll were in the 1950s and 60s and 70s. Rock and roll fans said, I just know that if you want to talk about what a friend we have in Jesus, it really doesn't matter what beat you put it in, how rocking it is. The message is what matters, and that's what we're trying to convey with this Christian fantasy, Christian fiction. We're just trying to make the age-old word and the great redemption story really interesting, powerful, and viable. And these books are geared for a real all-important market, 15 to 30 years old. The average age of comic book readers now in America, 30 years old. And then we have in Japan, Japan's about a third the size of the United States, but Japan has 5 times the comic book readership of the United States, and Japan is 1% Christian. Just think if we could pierce that market with our books translated in Japanese, what all we can do. So I haven't figured it out yet. Stan Lee hasn't figured it out. You and your listeners, Lynda, can help us figure it out.
Absolutely. I really believe this is the reason why God put it on my heart to do this show. We had to get a way to help these independent authors or these new authors that have these new ideas get it out to the public. And so we look forward to helping you promote your book, God's Silver Soldiers. It's so funny. I was speaking to your publicist when she called and sent over your information, and we basically go back and forth via email, but I immediately sent her back an email and I said, it's amazing that you would send me this, Helen. I was just, because I said I'm a huge Marvel fan. I was just watching, I think it was Civil War with my two grandsons right before she sent this to me. And after they left, I remember thinking, why can't we do something like that for the kingdom of God? And then, boom, here you are. So, sometimes we just have to be positioned and be ready, and you're already ready for when God opens up that door. Because I think that you're right with the things that we're feeding into our ear gates and our eye gates with the stuff that's out there. We're going to be positioned and we're going to have to be ready, Art, for when they come looking to us for some relief, for some positive messages instead of all the really negative stuff that's out there now.
It's a slow go. We've been real encouraged. We have a Christian bookstore partner, which we really appreciate, Nordskog Publishing. That's a neat name, Nordskog, Nordskog, nordskogpublishing.com. You can find the book there. He's really helping us get the books into traditional Christian bookstores. Antarctic Press is a 30 or 40-year comic book company. They partnered with us. They're doing everything they can to get the books into the comic book market. So those are two complete opposite spectrums. Comic book shops, Antarctic Press, Christian bookstores. If you happen to be a comic book fan listening to this, you can really help us asking your comic book store to please order through Antarctic Press. If you're a Christian bookstore fan listening, please ask your favorite Christian bookstore fan to order through Nordskog Publishing, and then everybody everywhere, look at some sample pages and just go directly to one of my websites. You can remember this real easily, God's Silver Soldiers. And I have a lot of the art, a lot of the pages up there. This very, very first edition that we put out is real limited. It's not the current bookstore and the comic book edition, but anybody that really wants to help us, we have an 11 by 17 edition, a real large, massive, we smash puny comics, as the Hulk says, just this real big 11 by 17 edition that I'd be so honored to send you. That's a coffee table art type book, and that website, God's Silver Soldiers, talks all about that.
Art, before we let you go, because we're getting the little prompt that we're down our last 60 seconds, can I use some of the images that I see off of your God'sSilverSoldiers.com website to promote this interview and your book?
I sure wish you would, Lynda. You have my permission to use anything. Thank you so much, and we'll talk a little later if it's possible for me to get a sound check of today's show. I'll promote that on every Facebook site that I can. We can talk about that.
Absolutely. I will send everything to your publicist, and it should be ready for you sometime, I'd say, very early next week.
Thank you so much. You've really caught the vision for me. I really need your help, and I really need your readers' help, because we're here on the cutting edge of publishing with this work.
Exactly. And I think it's time. I think this is the year where, like I said, we've all been positioned to make sure that we had the work ready. Once the doors open, boom, you're ready to run right through it. So we'll do what we can to on this end to get the word out. And Art, look forward to having you back on the show when you come out with book 2, or I guess that would be volume 2 in your case with the comic book.
We have things coming out, various titles all year. We're a full-blown Christian comics group, and I can't thank you enough for being one of the first people to really catch the vision. Thank you and your innovative listeners. Contact me. Look us all up on Facebook if you'll like the God Silver Soldiers, fairly new page on Facebook. Thank you. Happy New Year.
You too, Art. Thanks so much, sweetie. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Lynda. Bye.
All right, so that was author, creator, editor Art Greenhaw. Again, the title of his comic book is The God Silver Soldiers. And as he mentioned, he worked with the Marvel Group. If you log on, you can see the graphics for this. I'm going to definitely go on the website and put some more graphics on our Author Chat Facebook fan page. I think this is something that we definitely need for the kingdom of God, all for the glory of God. All right, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Hope we enjoyed the show. Hope you really did, because I know I did. We look forward to having you come back. I do need to let you know that we have canceled our morning shows. My schedules have changed, and so I'm unable to do the morning podcast. So we'll just be strictly doing the weekend podcast Saturday and Sunday until further notice. Okay. Well, enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye-bye.
Did you start your degree but never finish it? Now you can. Kaplan University has scholarships to help you save on your degree. Save up to $4,000 on your associates, or save up to $6,000 on your bachelor's. These are scholarships, not loans. You won't have to pay them back. Visit savings.kaplan.edu today for details. That's savings.kaplan.edu. Terms and conditions apply. Visit kaplan.edu/info for complete consumer and gainful employment information.
Life's expensive. At Kaplan University, we get it. That's why we created Tuition Cap. It's a program that sets the maximum amount you'll pay for college. Once you meet the cap, the rest of your degree is free. That's a 33% savings off the full tuition. It's all part of our promise to make college more affordable. Visit affordable.kaplan.edu to learn more. That's affordable.kaplan.edu. Savings based on transfer credits, if any awarded, and varies by campus. Students who receive transfer credit typically study for fewer terms and do not qualify for maximum savings. For consumer and gainful employment information, visit kaplan.edu/info.